The guardian of peace and security, Miss İmamire, was given the world by God, and it is our duty to protect her. What can I say about myself? Let others talk about me. In 19th of the last century, the Greek nationality Tamara has unexpected health problems. They took her to the emergency hospital. The doctor just watched her worse day by day, because science is powerless in front of her illness. The patient, who knows that the day was only a few hours left to die, sees in her dream a woman handing him a loaf of bread. I was so much pain, and I was just waiting to die. I didn't know what to do. I saw a woman lying on bed. Her hands, I remember only, and in front of my eyes, I looked at her lying on my bed. She came closer to me and said, "Don't worry, you will get well," and disappeared. I asked my relative, "Who's staying with me?" "Ella, who do we have?" She replied that there is no one at home. Again, someone appeared in your eyes. The next day, I was able to get up calmly. I'm ready walking. I have lightness inside me. Tamara, who escaped this, will know later that those hands belonged to Bala hanum. When Mrs. İmamire gave me the book as a gift, I had a feeling that these hands were the hands of that woman. This is that woman. And Mother Bala hanum died in 1998 at the age of 86. During her lifetime, this woman who earned respect for the hardworking, open-minded and caring nature cleared the stony land of the shore of Akstafachai in Gazakh district and built a garden there. This garden is called Ocak among these people. And Mrs. İmamire's mother is a horse, not a Sayyid. This woman always says that I carry my mother's spirit. Bala hanum immediately built this garden by cleaning the large stones on the plot of land with her hands without the help of machinery. For the first time in the Republic, Hyder Aliyev spring was drawn by her children. Mother Bala hanum and 9 children built, all of them died were babies. Accepting this as a test from God, the woman vowed that it was the 10th child is born. She will name it Dilenci and beg in 7 villages. Time passed and she has a son. Bala hanum mother followed her promise and named him Begum. İmamire is the 3rd child after 9 children who died. And in her dream, she wake up from sleep. My mother Bala hanum's soul has passed on me. This person is very strange character. When you look her, you can't know where her soul is. It is as that soul dissolves inside a person. There is something charming about this person. There is a strength. The secret of the power will surely be relieved someday. As a result of flooding of Akstafachai in recent years, the villages near the river were flooded. Even though the flood destroyed the fields and destroyed the bridges, it didn't cause any damage to Mother Bala hanum's Ocak. It followed around it. After this event, believe the spirit of Mother Bala hanum increased dramatically. Every year when I come to this earth, I found peace inside. This earth has helped me in the past and today. I will always come to the earth for the rest of my life. I was not burned. I am always with my mother. I don't preach any religion. I don't support the division of people. And we want people always to have good relation and peace. Whenever my mother saw a fight, she would put the fight to rest and then leave. Once Bala hanum mother was working with her daughter İmamire and her niece by the sea. Suddenly Mother Bala hanum said, "Turn around and look behind you." And When I turn it around and I look it back, I couldn't believe my eyes. I looked at about 50 steps behind me and saw that Heydar Aliyev was coming. I couldn't believe that it was him. Mazabala hanum, I found that I was looking for. She comes to Heydar Aliyev and hugs him. Heydar Aliyev, where are you? Only you can save this nation, she said. My aunt said, Heydar Aliyev, you will be president again. I remember it well. Hearing these words, Aliyev smiled and said, no, with his hands. I don't want to be president again. Hearing these words, my aunt bent down and made a sign. This is one and this is two. You will be president again, she said. The fate of the nation is in your hands, and what she said turned out to be true. What did I like most of all this person? She promotes Heydar Aliyev's legacy, Heydar Aliyev's school, and spreads it. At any event, she talks about his work, about the future, and really happens. It can't be denied. Let me tell you the fact. I was shooting for TV performance. All of the phones were turned off. As soon as I turned my phone, I saw that my sister's husband called me many times. He needed a reference for him to start working. Can you believe that I had just finished talking with him when Mrs. İmamire called me? That is, she called me when I had to look for her. I told her what happened. Can you believe this issue was resolved on the same day? It was as if all the roads were opened. I once again believed that it was her mother's spirit that opened me all these roads. And a very strange incident happened on the eve of preparation of Azerbaijani wrestlers for the championship. After that, the team members realized that suspecting a woman they don't know, a woman with a shawl on her head, means being exposed of the destructive influence of the other side. I was one of the prestigious competition. The members of the Azerbaijan national team worked with determination to win. It is true that special training of the coaches and athletes is important in this work. But even so, I invited Mrs. İmamire because of my faith in her. I wanted her to inspire them. Mrs. İmamire looked at me and said, I have been waiting for this for a long time. I introduced her to our athletes. Most of athletes accepted her very sincerely. Especially Arif Abdullayev attracted her like a magnet. Mrs. İmamire put her hand on Arif Abdullayev's head. One of our athletes looked at Mrs. İmamire and he laughed. The lady looked at her for a long time. When asked why, he will not wrestle tomorrow. He doubted me, she said. And I was very surprised because this wrestler will participate in the competition. And these words can be said by the team leader or coach. The next day, that wrestler didn't participate in the competition because the weight of this wrestler was not suitable. Many times things happened to people who doubted her. My friend Cengiz called me that the day before, 49-year-old man was suspected her died of a heart attack early in the morning. I never doubted her. Even if I have very important work, I'm ready to postpone and listen to her for hours because I see the benefit of this work. I don't want to hurt her. The families of those who doubted her were destroyed, and many troubles befell them.
Bizim ünlü liderimiz Türkiye'den qayıdırdı. Biz hamımız qarşılayırdıq onu. Tələbələrlə, uşaqlarla dayanmışdıq.
When our national leader turned from Turkey, we all our students welcomed him near the Bagurov Bridge. A person approached her and said, "Miss İmamire, you say that you have a strong power. Can you make sure that the car he is driving stops here?" The person who said this is a professor whose name I don't want to mention. Perhaps he didn't stop. Mrs. İmamire said angrily, "Hey, Galosh, you can do it yourself. Believe it if you want. Don't believe it if you want." When she was angry, she used strange words, for example, Galosh, Gipsy, and other things. When the car arrived, the woman took a step forward. The car stopped right next to the woman. I saw Mr. Heydar Aliyev shaking her hand and saying something to her. The car moved slowly. The professor who was watching this from the outside immediately apologized to Mrs. İmamire, but the next day we heard that he had acute paralysis and he has been bedridden for a long time. İmamire has no high education. During the day, he talks non-stopping at least 12 hours. This woman has such a power that she can make prediction in advance. If she says something to someone, something happens immediately. It was 1997. I was at the reception of one of the ministers. I saw Mrs. İmamire saying something to many people. Some doubted her laughed. I approached and asked about myself. She said to me, "I gave you the rectorship." Although this was unbelievable for an ordinary teacher, after 3 months, I was appointed the rector of Azerbaijan International University. Human consciousness was the potential to understand and analyze the meaning of the holographic structure of the universe. Whiteness admits that İmamire receives the change happening on the mother's planet as a warning sent by God to people. She says that as people understand the soul of God will increase the strength of the soul, but there were those who took advantage of the spirit and opposite it.
Ancaq onun ruhundan bəhrələnib sonra naxələf çıxanlar da olub.
Onu da demək istəyirəm ki, çox insanlar var ki, bu ruhdan, bu ocaqdan doğrudan da bəhrələnib. Zəngin olanı var, yaxşı işə girəni var.
I also want to say that many people benefited from this spirit and became healthy, became rich and found good jobs. People should not think that this is a witchcraft. No, this person only walks. It is only the spirit of that does good things. I would like people to be spiritually pure, not to doubt it, so that this spirit will help them.
En sevdiği insanların ruhlarıdır. Ona göre de biz onları həmişə o ruhların əziz tutmalıyıq, incitməməliyik, şək gətirməməliyik.
Ulduz adlı bu qadının süd vəzisində xoş xasiyyəli iş tapılır.
A tumor was found in a mammary gland of this woman named Ulduz. Doctors say that it should be cut off and removed. This woman disappearing of life calls İmamira's mother for help. I was told that there was a being tumor in my mammary gland. After the result of the test, I felt very bad. One day, Mrs. İmamire came to the university where I worked. After I met her, I realized that the cure of my problem is in this woman. I went to them with my son. After returning from there, I felt a lightness in myself. She held out her hand to me. After some time, the result of the analysis I gave was that the tumor was completely removed. Doctors are surprised and they don't understand how it happened. I am a soul that brings goodness to people. As long as the spirit is cherished, it will bear fruit. It is enjoyed. It will die out. Let me give you some example. Our house was destroyed in the earthquake. I repaired it later. There were many building materials in my yard. I decided to collect them and throw them away. While I was busy collecting them, Mrs. İmamire called me. At home, my children said that I am not there. Not even 2 minutes after this call, one of the nails on the board in the yard pierced the other side of my leg and came out from this side. I pulled him out with the help of those around me. This woman came us in the evening. I explained to her that what happened around me. And Mrs. İmamire said that she was worried about me. I showed my leg and told her about what happened to me. Each of the 99 names of God calls people to truth and justice. As you get closer to God, He increases His compassion. This is the final option of this who knows Mrs. İmamire. The soul that controls, it doesn't like the one who touches and hurts. It will its sharp reaction. After coming in contact with this woman several times, I ended up in the hospital in a very serious condition. And one day the door opened in the hospital and Mrs. İmamire came in. When she came in, I felt a lightness that I didn't understand and I got up. I had a lot of relatives who visited me. At the same time, there were 2 deans working with me. One of these ladies laughed when Mrs. İmamire put her hand on me. A minute passed and she lost consciousness. The people around her were very excited. Mrs. İmamire said she doubted me. She immediately put her hand on the lady, and after a few minutes the lady got up and hugged and kissed her and asked her to forgive her. Azerbaijan International University professor Sadreddin teacher was in his room when the door opened and the woman came in. And with the woman came in with a smiling on her face. The woman put her hand on his shoulder and said, God didn't destroy this world because of 5 or 6 holy people. I have come to help you, she said. At first, Mrs. Sadreddin didn't believe her. Just then, a nightingale came in. A nightingale came to the room with Mrs. Imamira's arrival. I caught the nightingale, but she asked me to let it go. It is very strange. Every time the woman comes, a nightingale enters with her. A person feels an inner comfort and inner strength.
İmamire ananın yuxuları sağlığında anası balaxanma rüyaları ilə eyni olub. Vəfat etdikdən sonra
Imamira's dream was the same as Bala Hanum dreams during her lifetime. After her death, Imamira mostly sees her mother in her dream and learns from her to help the people. One of these dreams, her mother said, protect him. And she immediately calls the person. I'm worried about you, protect yourself, she said. Less than half an hour after the conversation, the same man died as a result of gunshot fired by an unknown person. According to Professor Yashar Ibadov, the physical body that we see with the eye is surrounded by a biological field consisting of energetic body parts that are invisible to the eye. The events that happen around us are the subject to as a set of laws. A person sometimes understands these laws to the end. People who understand this are scientists. They discovered the law, but they don't create them. Maybe they will several this secret to the development of sciences. Science is still unable to explain such people. For 30 years, a parent of you has been dead, comes to sleep, and you see him as he is. So there is a soul. A person should not say no to what they don't understand. He should try to understand it. That is, if we don't fully understand this great force, we should not say it no, but rather go towards it. There is a soul. American scientists study the weight of the soul to see how much the soul can weigh inside a person. Who is Imamire? Why does this woman do good without expecting anything from anyone? She works 16, 17 hours a day. Why do you love God? I love God because He created evil forces to introduce good forces. Why do you love angels? I love angels because they sit on people's shoulder and write good and evil as evil. Why do you love humanity? I love humanity because all people are human beings. Why do you love our country so much? I love my country because the great God has blessed my country with underground and terrestrial resources. Why do you love your mother? I love my mother because her soul is in me. My mother brings healing and peace to all people on the earth. Why do you love our state and people? Because this nation knows the value of every inch of its land, and it is the harbinger of the peace in the world. Why do you love our president? I love my president very much because he loves all people and he will soon liberate our lands. This was the result of observation by our doctors and psychologists. He is psychologically and biologically healthy. This woman, perhaps she has come to terms with the frequency of time and space that is not available to every person. There are many laws of this world and have not yet been discovered. Perhaps most of them will be opened in 1,000 or 10,000 years later. These undiscovered laws will be discovered someday. And at that time, what is the great power of God, Mother to İmamire? How is given when it is given? What can I say about myself?
Ben çok maraqla baxdım filmə. Çox gözəl çəkilib. Əvvələn
I watched this film with great interest. It was a good shot. It was based on the book The Cry of the Soul by the author Eyyub Malim. He also conducts the show himself about Mrs. İmamire. Of course, this is not a gift that belongs to any person. God loves it and gives it to his chosen servants. Our prophet has such a hadith. He says, "My servant approaches me with voluntary prayers. He takes one step closer to me, and I take 10 steps closer to him. If I come closer to him, I will be his seeing eyes, hearing ear, walking foot, and holding hand." That is, God said, "I love the person who loves me, who believes in my wholeheartedly and approaches me. I will also give him a power." In another hadith of our prophet says, "Do not be afraid of the wisdom of a believer, because he sees with the light of God." This shows that God gives one of the millions of special ability, special feelings. It gives them a certain ability that other people don't have, the sixth sense. Or this wisdom can be given in hand movements, body parts, gaze, speech, and breathing. For example, one touches his hand, the other looks, and there is a divine harmony in one's speech, all of which are given to these people by God. This is a gift inherited by Miss İmamire from her mother. This is an innate ability. This ability can pass from the father or through the prayer. Islam doesn't accept the transfer of the soul from one body to another body. That is, the soul of any person can meet with the soul of another person. One can receive certain information or energy from the other. See, this is accepted by the Islamic religion. I don't agree with the question of the weight of the soul of American scientists, because the soul has no weight. Soul is a non-material entity. It exists as love, as mind, as gravity, but it is not a physical entity. In this respect, the materialist view of scientists are incorrect. For example, the change in weight of a person after death has nothing to do with hues. The soul is non-existing.
وما أوتيتم من العلم إلا قليلا.
The Jews said
Söz koymuşlar ki peygamberden
to ask the prophet 3 questions. If he answers 2, he is a true prophet. If he can answer all 3, he is not a real prophet. The first question was about Iskender Zulgani. He knew him. The second was Jesus. He also knew it. The third question was about the soul, to which the prophet said, I can't understand that. Mr. Jibril says that soul is the word of command of my Lord. In the religion of Islam, souls can meet. They don't cross into each other. We go to the grave of Thursdays evenings. The souls of the dead also come to the body on the same day, because the soul is in love with the body. The soul that leaves the body always comes to the grave on the Thursday evenings. It revolves around him. We can't see them, but when we visit them, their soul makes contact with our soul, and the richness of our soul can pass to the soul of the person who visits. From this point of view, I know that the miracles of the Hanum mother, who is rich in spirit, has passed to on Mrs. Imamire. Of course, these miracles are obvious. Also, we were many material. They were reflected in a half-hour film. This is a part of the innumerable blessing of my Lady Imamire. Based on the book written by Mr. Ayub, Mr. Malik created is a very beautiful film. It is very instructive, satisfying, and visible, and that he heals people, protects them from many tragedies, conveys certain information to them, and those who don't pay attention to him get into trouble. He would probably not have died if he had paid attention to the words of the state official. Be careful. Yes, I called him at 9 o'clock. They shot him at 11 o'clock. My voice was on the dictaphone. Maybe it was a script from the God, but Mrs. Imamire knew this in advance. There is a lot of good information in this film. Meeting with the president, stopping the car, returning the president to power for the second time. I think that the film is very good for creating an idea about the personality and miracle of Mrs. Imamire. An energy given by God, an ordinary force exists in the divine world and becomes a mediator between God and people. Just like Mir Mosum Ağa was a mediator between Allah Ta'ala and people. Some religious institutions do not accept visiting the dead. He considers these to be empty things. But what distinguishes human beings from other beings on the earth is that they are proud of their root they inherit. It exists in some animals. For example, despite the fact that in cats, the issue of parents' offspring succession ends after 6 months. But this is not the case in horses. Humans are proud of their lineage and protect certain genetic codes, and that is them, and it passes generation to generation. I believe that after this film, all people will understand that Mrs. İmamire is a great saint. All the people gathered here and well-known personalities. Each of them is a well-known expert in their art. Their confidence and performances made the film even more meaningful. Once again, I wish good luck to the great man Ayub Mellim, who is a symbol of seniority. Of course, Mrs. İmamire is the center of this film, and she makes the film unforgettable.